Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2. Good morning, everyone. If we could have everybody just grab your coffee, sit down, and we'll have a quick chat. Okay, good morning, everyone. I'd like not to take up too much of your time on a Saturday, but if we could have everybody's attention, and then we'll get started on this small presentation. Thank you. So everyone, I don't know if you remember me, but my name is Joe Mancini, and I'm from GMC Engineering, and we're your project managers for all the projects that Parker Dorado was undertaking these last couple years. So this is an update that we are going to provide that will show you the progress of the projects that has happened since our last presentation. I think it was like 2 months ago. So not a lot of time has happened or passed, but there has been a lot of progress on the property. So the progress itself, what I'll do is I'll go through the slide presentation as we did in the past, and then obviously if there's any questions that you have, I would like to have the questions per se at the end of the presentation per se, and then we can get into going backtrack if you want to see the slides, or we can talk the technical side. So on our summary of the projects that we have, obviously the largest project that your property has is your upper and lower mechanical room, which again is the heart of your property. The project is actually commencing very well. The contractor is expecting to start up the main chiller and the generator and the 2 new air handlers that we have in the upper mechanical room. We expect them to be started up no later than the end of next month. So we are actually ahead of schedule, but that again, we need at least 1 month to do commissioning and testing of all the equipment. So in the next phase that you're going to see, there's going to be the new chillers running, then turning off, testing back and forth. And that's normal that we would want to see in that testing period. So before the contractor completes his project, we have to make sure that all the commissioning, the testing, and the manufacturer's warranties are in place before he actually finishes the project. The riser project, what I'll do, I'm going to change a little bit that we'll go through the presentations of showing where we are in each step instead of using the template sheet. I can't see what slide you're on. That's it, yes.
2018 lower mechanical.
So that's what your mechanical room looked like before we started last year. And then the next slide, you'll see that where we are currently as of last week. Now, as you can tell, we have our new domestic water pumps already in place. We have a nice shiny new chiller in place. All the pumps are actually in place, just ready to be completely plumbed in and finally connected. And we have that beautiful white box that's in your parking lot, which is your new generator. And that generator obviously is enclosed with a soundproof attenuating, so you won't, very minimal sound that you're going to hear from the generator other than the exhaust. But that generator has already been tested and is just ready to be started up once we have Florida Power have the switchgear changed over. The upper mechanical room had a large transformation in the last 30 days from where it was in October, or sorry, where it was a year ago per se. So in the upper mechanical room, we were able to put in the 2 air handlers. You probably saw last week or the week before that the cranes were in place on the south end of the property. So the air handlers actually slid inside the upper portion of the mechanical room like a glove. So those units now are completely serviceable through a full service catwalk that is extended outside of the building and between your cooling tower and your new air handlers. So the service technician or the maintenance staff is now going to be able to be walking around without any ladders to get into the air handlers to service them. So we're going to be able to have better maintenance because it's accessible. You're going to be able to have easier for your technicians now, that the maintenance technicians and the service contractors, that there is nothing that is hidden, everything is exposed. The equipment is going to be connected mechanically, electrically, with chilled water and steam before we do the final connection for the ductwork. So we do have, since we originally did the design, you still have one more turn down or disconnecting of the old units. So there will be one more shutdown of the air for the hallways. And that will give them time to disconnect and demo the old units and do the final duct connections. But again, that won't happen until the units are actually tested and proved to be operational. So we're trying to do everything preemptive enough that your shutdowns are again to the minimum. And then the next we have is our infamous, their beautiful turtle lights. As you see at the last couple of weeks, you saw different colors. You see an amber light in the parking lots and an amber light in your pool. The pool now area has actually been disconnected from your main circuit, so your pool will be dawn to dusk, or according to when Al and you guys want the lights to be on and off, you have full control over the pool area. Now, keep in mind that you're going to see two different gradients of lights. One's going to be in the parking area and one that's going to be in the pool. It's a code issue. The pool, providing the pool isn't operating 24/7 or that you have a lifeguard and it's open, but it's dawn to dusk, so the bylaws are different than it is for parking. Parking area has to have a higher illumination because of the safety for people driving in, tripping, or somebody walking between cars. So when you go out at night, you're going to look at the two different areas. You'll see difference in the gradients of the lights or the illumins. That is what we expected to see. So now you can turn around to your neighbor and actually do a complaint to your neighbor because their lights are actually flushing over to your property. So we're past that point now. We were here yesterday with the inspectors in the city, the inspectors and the engineers. They will not sign off the project yet until the contractor has finished his punch list or his deficiencies. They're minor deficiencies, but it's a point that we're still, I would say maybe about 15 to 20 days away before the city would come in and actually put this behind us and close out that permit. Before we get into the financial part of the projects and where we are financially on, is there any questions on the projects on this property? 1 second, hold on. Al, if you can, the microphone. The gentleman behind you.
Anybody have a question?
Yeah, hey, Dr. Francis here, 1710. Been here 32 years.
Yes.
On the lights, where we find it, you know what the status is? We ended up having to pay, or we were able to get out of paying any of the fraction cost?
The violation?
Yes.
Substantial fee that is, yeah. But we'll mitigate it just like we did prior one for other violations. We managed to lower by 90% the last one, so absolutely.
We have to ensure that the municipal or that the engineers are satisfied with the lighting installation. We're trying to make sure that every item is closed off properly, that will leave nothing open for the municipality to say you're stuck on something. So we're 90% there. So far, we've been keeping Corrine at the city happy of everything that she wanted. So we're in a great position to now mitigate it with them and to ask for, wherever they can. Again, we're stuck with them, but we're trying our best. Thank you.
Hold on, we have a question on the lights on the pool.
Okay, my question is, in reference to the security lighting for the exterior, I do understand that after 12 midnight, the lights goes off, but this area gets completely dark. I believe the cameras will not be able to capture anything in case anybody can climb the wall and get into our property, break the glass, break the windows, and steal our personal property, or commit a crime or whatever the reason is. So I would like to hear what do you have. I understand that code has a big role, but I believe it's also, there is also a part in the code that allows to provide that security lighting to protect the tenants.
Not finished yet.
It is correct that there is a code regarding the quantity and the quality of the light. There is no code regarding for an alarm or security system. If the parking or the pool area is dawn to dusk, we have to satisfy the Florida Building Code first, where we would look at the security to find out where to strategically have certain lights left on. That is still yet to be reviewed because we have to satisfy one at a time. As the previous question, we have to satisfy this violation, which is climbing every day. So instead of bringing more aspects into the violation, let's clean up the violation. Let's get them out of our hair, per se, which is not much there, but out of our hair. And then let's look at the convenience for security, which is very important. But that issue for convenience, because the circuits have all been separated, it allows us the opportunity to designate certain lights that are going to be for security. So that will be still to come. definitely. Good question, thank you. Yes? No, the risers are ongoing projects. That was almost a separate topic by itself. The risers, the permits for the two projects, which are the risers and the hallways. We have the permit already issued, ready to be picked up by the contractor for the hallway renovation or the hallway revitalization per se, doing the mold and the drywall replacement and code. The riser project is still in review by the city. It's been a long time for the permit application and the permit review. We had to go through three full revisions with the city on both projects. So the city finally, we satisfied all their intent, all their concerns, and we're now at the financial side where the city wants their pound of flesh per se. So we're at that stage now. Once the permits have been issued, the contractor at that point is sitting down with Al and myself, and we're going to do the schedule of when the survey will happen to the units that are affected. So at that time, the owners will be given the minimum. At that point, we're looking for a 2 weeks look ahead for each of the owners that the contractor will come and provide the survey or to do the survey. So we have to allow the contractors to come into those dedicated suites to do the inventory. No, there's a total of 208 units out of the whole building that are potentially affected. So that list of units that are there on the, they were on the board last time. We do have another sheet of the potential units that are affected that we can share.
We'll be getting the new boards next week, maybe, Joe?
Yes, I contacted the contractor
Okay.
this morning. They did not provide it today, which I was expecting to see. But if you would go quickly, you would be anybody in line number 1, or your unit number would be, for an example, 101, 201, 301 consecutively, 02, 03, 05. Now, between 2 and 3, we have a decision that we have to make is looking at each of those units because the riser's back to units on 02 and 03. So we have to look on that specific unit to find out which is the least intrusive to which one. Hopefully it's just a drywall. So we'll pick which one is going to be the least on that. So again, 01, 02, or 3, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, or 15, 16, 19, and 20. So that for every floor, we're going to have 13 units for every floor, and that would equate to 208 units throughout the building. Now, there's a few owners that they have mentioned that they've revised their units or remodeled their unit, and they provided insulation, and they supposedly did it according to code. That, as I said on the last meeting, that it's not a point that we're going to ignore that. It's a point we have to satisfy the inspectors, and we have to satisfy the actual architect and the person that's going to sign off. So unless if we could visually see it or have proof that it was done, you have to understand his license is on the line, and we have a very strong municipal person here, Corrine, and the city inspector. He's going to want to inspect everything. So if it's either by via camera or whatever to prove what your renovations have done in the past, otherwise it has to be opened up again. Yes.
Standby generator,
I
right?
think he needs a...
It's already in action.
No, it's been tested. It's not in action.
It's not so long. It's about 2 months I saw it already. They bring it in.
It's been over 2 months. 1 second, let me answer one at a time.
No,
The-
let me ask
yes,
the
sorry.
same question.
Okay.
Who will maintenance this? How often you will repeat the starting and to complete safety operation? Who will do that?
Okay, the generator has been placed for over 2 months. We have a problem within the building, and thank you for bringing it up. There's a problem within the building of the main electrical switchgear. As everybody knows, this building is a single source power supply from Florida Power. The main switchgear, according to FPL, they have no records of that switchgear being maintained for the last 10 years on this property. So the building neglected to do maintenance on the switchgear, which is a crucial part of this building. The contractor had tried to turn the main switch off while we had the controlled shutdown. The switch is actually seized open, or seized closed. So what that means is that if they actually ratchet that switch, and that switch is a large switch to shut the whole power off to this building, if they ratchet that switch and disengage, there's a very good possibility the switch will never re-engage again. So you would have no power. So we've been working with Florida Power to find out how they are going to aid or help us fix the problem that we neglected over the last 10 years to do maintenance on. So the generator is sitting there. The generator is ready to go within a day or two. We have been fighting with Florida Power, and not fighting. We went through a hurricane. They put everything on emergency. They will not even talk to us for a maintenance issue until now. We have communication with them on Thursday, and they're saying that they are setting up within the next 2 weeks that we're able to come in and do service on the switchgear. And again, this is something that has been neglected on this building for at least 10 years. That's all they go back and record as records, is 10 years. So you've neglected something that is virtually running everything in this building. To answer the second,
Automatic transfer switch, right?
sorry?
You need automatic transfer switch to add to switchgear.
It's the automatic transfer switch, yes, it is.
The resistance, when you test it every half a year generator, you need a resistance to load.
Of course.
Do you have everything?
You would not add a different, during the operation, so your first part of your question regarding why it was not running, hopefully I responded to that one correctly. The second part of your question is for maintenance, and when is it running? The generator is programmed to run every month for a minimum of 2 hours for every 30 days. That's set up in the logic of the control system automatically. The duration of the generator every year to every 2 years, depending on the OEM, what they're requiring, then they would come in and do a load bank test on the generator. That is something you retain as a contract after the installation is complete and after the first year is complete. The generator has to have a load bank test to test it under full load. The building cannot be used as a full load test. They bring in supplementary load bank batteries, which is like a resistor, and exactly what you're saying. That is something the property has to get into a preventative maintenance program in the future after the first year.
So you will hire this special contractor, right, to do that? Regular.
Currently, it's not under my requirements as of yet because we're still under construction, but the association will require that moving forward. And you have to remember, everyone, you're spending a lot of money to improve your building. You cannot neglect it after I disappear or after we have completed these projects. We're cleaning up messes that this property has seen for so many decades of not doing. Hopefully, you're not going to get that way. So to answer your question, yes, you guys should. I highly recommend you to do that. It's not a cheap generator sitting in the parking lot. Thank you. You must, yes. Any other questions? Very good. One other comment I'm going to make with the risers. The contractor is going to be going into your units, those units that I was mentioning, in excess of 200 of them. The timeline for us to get this executed and to start the project, the city has violations on us now to get it done within a 60-day time frame. Al has been going back to the magistrate every 60 days and giving an update. The one part I cannot give the magistrate any type of timeline is the cooperation or the lack of or good cooperation of all the owners. So if we are being, how do I say, not allowed to enter your unit to look at the survey and get this executed, it's just compounding the fines. So if we're able to get the surveys done in a timely manner, the rest of it we have on the contractor's responsibility to do the timeline. As we say, it's 1 week per unit, 1 month per floor. He's fixed in his AIA contract for that timeline. The only variable, and we're in the middle with the attorney, we cannot put a timeline if the owners won't allow us in the building, in the rooms. So I don't know how to emphasize enough how important that is cooperation from everybody. We hope so. We hope so. It's as much as we say, yes, we should, but let's hope that we have cooperation by the 208 owners. Yes.
Was there any decision made on compensating the owners with the large, compensating owners where the tiles has to be removed in the bathroom? Are you gonna leave a lot of damage, or you gonna pay for repairing the whole bathroom? I brought it up last meeting, and
Yep.
I still in line 1, and some other lines where the 2 bathroom back to back, they all tiled up. You're removing the tile,
has to be replaced, who's gonna pay for it? Right. Who's gonna repay it? Some people have 40-year-old or 50-year-old tiles that are not replaceable.
Agree, and we address that, and we are aware of that. We have a unit price for tile, we have a unit price for our board, we have a unit price for taking the tub out, putting it back in, and we have in the contract of Core and ABC of the contractor that's doing the project, they have another contractor, which is Scott Helms of MCSH, which has been doing work on the property. So any repairs or reinstatement of the units that have been affected, he will provide you a separate price for you to reinstate the rest of your unit, to whatever you want. It's a separate quote.
Who's gonna pay for it?
That's up to the owners. It's not up to the association. The association's responsible to replace the section that they have removed and re-put back in, but if it does not match the other tiles that are on the side, that's why we have fixed a contract price for you to negotiate with that contractor of what you want to do.
At
So you,
at owner expense or the association expense?
owner's expense.
Why? Why some owners have no expense at all? Why some owners have to pay hundreds of dollars or maybe thousands?
Yeah. I understand the issue,
Well-
and it is a complex issue, and the point
No,
is.
it's not a
that-
complex issue. It's needed for the building. It's needed for that particular
Correct.
owner, but it's also needed for the entire building to give building healthy lifestyle. And building has to pay for that, not just few individual owners. It has to be paid by the entire building because it's done for the entire building.
Good. Understood, and one thing you have to look at is in your condominium documents that you have when you purchase the unit, as you know, the association, the property itself is only liable and responsible for common elements and that drywall finish. They are not responsible for even your paint on the wall. That's a document that you had when you bought the unit. So they are abiding, the board is strictly abiding by your own documents.
Don't touch my unit and it's fine, but you break it, you fix it.
So gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, one second. This is exactly what I'm trying, and thank you to bring it up, because this is what we're going to be trying to have, these discussions at the time that we're dealing with a fine on one side and the owners on another, and no disrespect. It's a point that we all have to work together because it's your building. So if we
You won't
stop,
work together. You want me to pay for it.
I,
Not all together, but me.
it's not that I want you to pay for it, it's a point that we have to live by the documents that you approved. So if you want to change the documents, you have to go to the point of having the large portion of all the owners wanting to change your docs.
There's no need to change any documents, just pay from the money from the association.
The documents are your governing documents. That's your governing government. And it says that you have to repair and replace.
Myself,
Yes,
at my expense,
yes.
for the common good.
That's what it says. And that's what your documents say.
It's in your bylaws. I didn't write them.
No.
Before you start installation, you have some criteria to understand if that unit need installation or not.
Yes.
You will send first some kind of specialist who take a look how the razors look like and make a decision to do it or not to do, or not. No.
If you have a riser in one of your suites, in any of your areas of the hallway, the closet, the washroom, if there is a riser within those lines, it's going to be done.
You need every unit without any,
I'll explain that one.
if it's necessary or not. Maybe some of them is good
No,
insulated.
you have to understand, insulation and condensation. Condensation is something that God invented, we did not. Insulation and condensation. The condensation itself is going to start on the chilled water line. The problem is what you've had in the past, you did segmented repairs on different floors. You can't repair insulation halfway on a pipe because the sweating from above will keep on dripping down. And that's where the mold is not reinventing, it's coming back up again. So you can't be selective in saying, I'm going to put a Band-Aid on a cut but not sew up the wound.
We tried that about 3 years ago,
You
and it
did.
failed. Every one
And
we
it
did failed. Within 3 weeks, it failed.
If
Not
not
even
sooner.
3 months, 3 weeks, they ruined again.
And we don't even, at this point, it's a good point, Al, but it's not your decision if you want it done or not. We have a fine on this property that they are going to inspect every unit, every suite, every riser, and the building inspector, especially the mechanical inspector, is wanting to see every inch of the insulation throughout this whole building. For some reason, the city on this building is putting you to task. And I hate to say it, you're paying the price for it. So for whatever happened in the past of the concerns or the complaints that were given, you're now feeling the torture that we're doing, or not for us doing, what they're doing to you. So,
After installation, city have to accept it, right? City will send inspector who will say finish or not, right?
correct.
And after inspection, you're gonna leave an open wall in the unit,
No,
okay?
no. Like I said, we're putting it back to the drywall finish as per the documents that you have. Like, it's a point where, just similar to when you were on the board, when the risers that we did, you know the finishes that we had to provide. We provided back to the finish.
If you do damage to an owner for the good of a building, you have to fix the damage. Building has to fix.
Unfortunately, the law doesn't say that. Leo, doesn't say that.
Thank you. Any other questions? We've actually budgeted timeline that you're gonna be approximately 2 years.
2 years for the riser project.
And the hallway, because it's joined together. We're doing them floor by floor.
Oh, so the hallway will be done the same time?
Correct.
Okay, great.
So the intent on that is what the board has elected, which was a great,
Start on floor 11?
I wish we could. Yeah, it's actually, if you want to move 11 to 17, go for it.
Thank you.
But the intent of that is that we're going to try and, or we will execute floor by floor, starting at 17, because that's the normal progression regarding the condensation and the way it has to happen. And as soon as we're finished on 17, it allows you to start thinking and working towards your beautification. So you're able to see the finish, working towards finishing this building as all the contractors walk out that front door. Any other questions? Okay, great. Now we're going to go through some of the dollar values. So the second last page of the presentation has the actual estimated the contract values that we have. So the upper and lower mechanical room, that contract was awarded and is at $2,075,627. $2,075,627. The contract change orders or extras on that amount is in excess or is less than $8,000 from the city. The city asked for panic hardware on your lower doors. Otherwise, the contract was fixed. The contract has no extras, and we don't perceive to see any extras by the time we're finished. So it's an all-in. So over $2 million with no contingencies, contingencies required. The hallway and the risers and the valve replacement, because in that project, you have to realize that in the ceiling space here, we also have chilled water lines that'll all be re-insulated as well, all the way back to our mechanical room. So the insulation through the whole building is done, right out to the chiller room. And the isolation valves so that you could service it. Currently, the valves are seized because they've never been exercised or used, and they won't even shut off. So that's being changed. So that project, a total project is $3,343,269.30. Actually, on that one, if the bid project,
And we asked for citizens, all citizen discount for the.
you can try. The elevator modernization was awarded at $1,343,559. The 40-year certification, recertification, and you'll find on the list, you're going to see what is budgeted, what has actually been awarded, and then what I'll do is I'll go through the variance between and give you some explanations of why. The 40-year recertification, that contract is at $58,530. And in the 40-year certification, it applies to all the owners of every owner in this unit per se, is that we need the electrical contractor to go into your suite and replace the ground fault interceptor receptacles in your unit to upgrade and to actually have the contractor label your electrical panel to which breakers service which area. Please allow them access to your unit to expedite that, because we did not build any contingency in for the contractor to stand outside the door and wait days to get in your unit. He has to go in, he's got a fixed amount of time to identify your electrical circuits, put the nameplate on your electrical panel, the breakers or the circuits themselves, and change out the receptacles in the washroom and in the kitchens to ground fault for your safety. And that, again, is all included in this contract. So it's no cost individually to the owners. It was more economical than the buying the circuits yourself or buying the breakers and the receptacles. The contractor made a phenomenal price that we just went as everything all included. So it's no cost up and above other than that full 40-year. And that closes your 40-year. That's all that's left to do, and we're done. The fountain total came to $62,000.
Question?
I had a question.
Here,
When
Gina.
you say close to 40 year, you're talking about, when you mentioned the 40-year recertification,
Recertification.
that it's all closed, it includes plumbing, electrical, structural, everything?
The 40-year is only two elements. You've already had your structural. The only thing left is electrical. The
Okay.
40-year does not
What about
comply.
plumbing?
It's not included in a 40-year.
So that's the only thing that is,
No, it's not. The 40-year requirements of the
I
recertification.
thought plumbing was part of the 40-year recertification on a commercial building, no?
No, not in residential. No, that
But in a
40-year,
multi-dwelling it is.
the application that you have here is under 40-year is structural and electrical only.
So in other words, the plumbing would never be up to code, or I'm confused? I mean, we have been replacing the plumbing here.
But the code of recertifying a building, there's difference between recertifying a building and bringing your building up to code. Bringing your building up to code is anytime you're doing renovations, the city's going to require you to be up to the local Florida code. But under the recertification requirements is only structural and electrical.
That's it?
That's all that they want to see is the structural and electrical. That's it.
I'm concerned about plumbing.
What is the total amount of money you awarded contractor?
For
what item?
For the
Which
40-year? For which one?
No, you have a list of the contractor.
Yeah, I'll go down to the bottom.
What's the total price?
If you allow me just to get
He's
to the bottom.
getting there. Eugene.
I'll get there.
Ilya, wait till he's finished. He's getting to the bottom.
The laundry rooms, that project was completed for $370,000 for the laundry rooms. The pool canopy was $50,797. The turtle lights was $123,648. The pool shower was $2,500. Your exhaust fans up on the roof were at $10,900. And again, I'm reading it off the list that you have as well, so we can go through it. The steam boiler replacement and reconnecting to it was $17,000. We prepared a full as-built drawings of this property, so you'll have it for your beautification and your interior designers. That was at $14,000. And your hot water recirculation pump system with controls were $10,900. And that's a cumulative of all your contracts. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go through the variance to try and help you understand from original proposed budget that your board has presented to where we are today, and we'll give you some ideas of what the variances were and where they are. So if we're going to look at the upper and lower mechanical room, your original board put together a budget, and I feel after reviewing how they put it together, they did a phenomenal job of estimating so many unforeseen items in this property, and they did a fantastic job. Normally, we would see budgets that are an eighth of what is required, or it would be grossly way over budgeted, but they did a phenomenal job.
How much in change orders? How many dollars?
That we
So
have to
far.
date in change orders, less than $10,000.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's been the design team that they've had, the engineers have been pretty strong. And also with Robert negotiating the contractors, he's been pretty tough. He's not an easy guy to deal with. So within the upper and lower mechanical room, the original budget was $1 million from the board. But in that $1 million, we changed the design to incorporate a lot of the 40-year requirements. So you're going to find when the board put the budget together, it was pooled as an assessment, or it was, the assessment was as a pooled. So in other words, they said we have items of 15 different items and we're pooling so much money into each. So we have a total accumulative amount of money to have these projects executed. So we were able to do it more economically instead of taking the electrical upgrade for the 40-year, which would have required generator, switchgear, disconnects, all the electrical of the individual suites. So we took money from one portion and moved it to another because it was cheaper under construction. So while the contractor is building the upper and lower mechanical room and electrical work is there, why not have him responsible to do that upgrade and not have it as a separate contract? So again, through all the different items in this contract, we again took the number as a pooled and put it to best use of the contract's best negotiation power and have the contractor have enough meat that we could get the power of negotiation, and that's what they've done. The difference, if we move down to the difference of the 40-year recertification, that's exactly what I said. Originally, they had budgeted of $880,000. It only came in at 58, and that's for that reason. We moved everything around into where the contractor was doing the work. The laundry room was the one that we had the most fun with. Robert did his thing. Originally, you were budgeted at 420. The contractor's contract was 400. And by the time Robert was finished, he actually negotiated the contractor finished project at 370. He did very well. I think the contractor walked out of the building not feeling too good. The turtle lights, again, on that aspect, it was budgeted at 250,000. When we were finished, it came in at 123,000. So again, you'll see some that are over, some that are under, and at the end of the day, it was a pooled amount, but at the same time, we looked at it as what's best for the contractor and what's best for us getting the best price, and that's what we did. So if we go down to the bottom, the board has proposed a budget of $10,530,000. To date, under contracts that we have at the end of 3 years, so if we look at the end of 2021, we'll be at $9,800,000 and change. So by the end of 2018, you spent $708,000 plus. The end of this year, so we're looking at projecting by the end of this year, which we know the contractors have already performed their work, but we haven't got the bills yet, and we know the contracts end. We would be at a total for the end of this year at $3,583,871.12. So looking at doing an accumulative for last year and this year, we have a total of $4,290,754 that would be spent by the end of this year. Is there any questions on the numbers that I know I'm dumping a lot of numbers on you. Where would you get another $5 million?
Assessment today is for $5 million, right?
Correct. Anything?
You already almost spent it, probably necessary. What else happened to another $5 what you already are awarding the contractor?
We have not awarded the other contracts yet.
Your prices is based on the estimation
Correct.
of the contractor, right? It's not awarded.
The contracts that we have,
What you mean, what I understand, that after you finish
219,
we have to have another assessment for $5 million, right?
we currently have, according as the assessment wise, that I'll leave up to Al and the board to explain how the assessment parts work with that. I'm working on the contract side of what the property requires. So that would be a separate discussion that you have of how you would do your assessments and that moving
You
forward.
have to get firm numbers first. For the phase two, as we always discuss, phase two is coming, but when, we don't know.
I
It'll be-
understand that what happened is that you a little twist the kind of people, right? Because you offered first assessment for $5 million, ignored it completely, and make it $10 million.
It was always 10 million, don't forget.
Everybody was against it, $10 million.
At one time, yes. So the board did it in phases, phase one, phase two, okay? So we're going to phase two next year.
Something games I don't understand.
Very good. Go ahead, Joe.
Maybe we have to make a new building. It's maybe close to the same price.
If you find one for this price, let us know.
Because if we will look at what to have to do, what is necessary to do, I don't know. It have to be approved by the owners.
I'm currently working off a budget that was proposed. That's what we're working off of. So how,
Cost was only $5 million.
I understand. At this point of the contracts that have been executed on this property, keep in mind that if you don't fix the heart in this property, any cosmetic you're gonna try to do this property, you're just wasting your money again. So if any board member, and with all due respect, if there's any board member that was able to understand that even to as small as a switchgear, that I don't think anybody in this room would have understood that neglecting it for 10 years might now still cost you $100,000 if they can't fix it. So how could you, as a person that owns into this property, or any owner here, understand how to put that on a budget? You're paying for problems that happened in the past, or neglect in the past, that someone's gonna pay, at that phrase, you're gonna pay the piper sooner or later. If that's switchgear, we all assumed that you could shut the power off to your building. Why would you not think you can turn your power off? But now your first question was, why is not the generator running? There's no board member that could understand why isn't it running, but until we actually try it.
Building has a 5 disconnect switches. All the 5 disconnect switches was replaced maybe 4 years ago.
Florida Power has no record for 10 years. If,
Now you say that the switchgear is not, if you have a problem, you will never pay, you turn back the power, right? Because switch is not working.
the switch, they cannot disconnect it. In other words, they can't turn your power off to that panel. If they can't turn the power,
Which switch? There is 5 switches replaced and was
the
everything.
chiller room, which is the chiller room, and your generator, which are the two critical,
Generator doesn't have a special switch, or does?
yes, it does.
It has automatic switch when.
Is downstream of the main
Power
power.
went out.
It's downstream of that power, yes. So you have to understand that the building itself has to have banks of switches, because they can't be one switch that does the whole thing. So there's a main one coming in. So on that point, if Florida Power is lying to me, they're lying to all of you, because they have no record for 10 years of it being maintained. Not saying turned off, never been maintained. They have no record of maintenance, because the contractors that do the maintenance have to provide FPL the service work orders. They have no record of it. If they're lying to us, I can't answer that. All as I can tell you is the contractor tried at that last shutdown, they were unable to shut it off. It was seized in the open or closed position. His concern, which rightly do, as a contractor, I'd say the same thing. If I take that switch and I disconnect it and kill the power to the building or the large part of the building, what are you gonna do if it's not gonna re-engage? So this is a cost that somebody is not, there's no board member that can take that into an assessment or to understand what are the costs for the building's neglect. So, is there any other questions regarding the financials? No? Thank you. Is there any questions on the projects itself?
I want to mention, we're going to have several of these town hall meetings.
Yep.
As these projects, especially the risers that are so concerning to everyone.
Yes.
And there's going to be a lot of communication, and we need everyone's cooperation. But we will definitely communicate. More of these, including with the vendors eventually, right? As soon as it's
I
all signed
insist.
off and blessed by the board, we'll have the actual contractors here again. Day
Yes.
and night, whatever hours we need, they'll be here for us.
They're willing to work, and they're ready to work. Okay, thank you, everyone. Hopefully I didn't take up too much of your Saturday.
About that switch,
Yes.
I'd like to add a little. This square key.
Elia, we're going to talk about the switch over here. Come over here. Come over here. We'll talk about.
No, if you disconnect, you cannot connect.
Hold on. Hold on. Don't all leave. We have security's going to say a few words. If you 5 minutes. Our security director, Nelson. Come on.
By the wall.
There's the chief.
That's the kind of service.
You're losing fellas in the crowd, hurry up, get in
I
there.
mean, tell me.
Start.
Hi, good afternoon. Can everybody settle in, please? Hello? Hi, good afternoon. Well, I mean. Okay, so my name is Nelson. I'm with the security company here. I wanted to kind of introduce ourselves and talk about a particular topic that we had a few months ago here. Again, I'm Nelson. This is Robert, and this is Rick from South Florida Security Group. Apparently, we had a couple months ago an incident where we required one of my security officers in the building. It's still completely under investigation, possible stolen TV on one of the units. So I wanted you all to know that we're immediately got rid of the individual. The same day that the police was called in, they came in and everything got resolved in that end. So I wanted to make it, in case there's any rumors going around in reference to the actual what took place. It's still under investigation. The employee no longer works for us. He had a 100% clean background, like we have 572 employees, like all employees do. We check their backgrounds. So I wanted to make that out clear as a community. The board has been very actively involved in management in reference to this also, but there's not really a lot of information I give anyone else in reference to this particular case. Is there any questions for security, anything at all that we have? We have a front desk and we have a roving security officer here at all times.
Why do we have so much security? I see so many going around, and I see
No,
them in
it's not
the
training now. I'll
laundry
explain to you
room.
now.
I see them in the laundry room on their phone. I don't understand why we have to pay for so much
Okay.
security.
We have, just so everyone knows, we have one front desk security personnel that works for your facility, and we have a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week rover also.
Yes, and
Now,
they-
Monday,
and they both sit down by the beach and not doing their jobs.
that could be the pool attendant, but
Smoking in the roof, you have something right there for spending a long time.
now, in reference to Monday through Friday, the security officer, instructed by management, is inside the receiving area here, from 8 o'clock in the morning till 12 o'clock in the afternoon. That's our assignment. We do the receiving for anything that comes in reference to construction of the facility. Anything after that, we're roaming around the facility. We're roaming at nighttime, especially inside the garage.
They're not roaming, they're out by the beach, sitting down there. Both the rover.
By the beach.
Yes, right up against the wall. And I told this to Al how many times? And
if
the
they're
same
not
thing
there,
happened
they're
the other
hanging
night.
out over here. I
I'm
don't think
watching
we
what
need
they're
the
doing.
security.
They're both sitting out there enjoying the ocean.
Well,
And then, if
Well-
not doing that, they're standing here talking to the girls.
I don't have two individuals here. I really don't. I have one person. You're saying both. I have one individual here. And I do assign a road.
It's one a rover.
The front desk never leaves their post.
Well, that
right?
may be the both of them.
No. Front desk never leaves the front desk. They never leave the front desk. I come to the facility quite often. I have a road supervisor. His name is George Diaz, that he's assigned to this property. He's probably here, I'm thinking maybe 30, 40 hours a week. Also, George is right here, George Diaz. He's assigned to he's a road supervisor. Thank you. So he's a road supervisor assigned to your building. But in reference to having a crowd of, we just have one individual here.
First of all,
We-
the rover should be downstairs when people are entering the building and follow the people in, so they get into the building. That's what our security did many years ago. We never had a problem with it. They were not sitting at the beach. They were not standing at the desk. They were down where people.
Al, that's something that we could maybe change our rules on that. That's something we could possibly do. I appreciate that, ma'am. Anyone else have any questions? Anything at all for security? Anything at all for security? Yes, sir.
Is part of the security also the security cameras or not? Or is it separate?
I'm glad you mentioned that, sir. We do have a particular camera that we use in the front desk that records everything that happens in the front desk. And when I was listening to the conversation here, we as a security company want to provide possible cameras in the pool area when it gets to the dark time. We do have, just so everyone knows, our company has a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week dispatch. And I've committed to the board that I'm not 100% committed on watching your building at 24/7. We have a little bit over 170 facilities that we protect also, but we will keep an eye on this particular area at times.
I believe the outside
I'm sorry?
Camera, I believe the outside cameras is very important because it could be a lot of incidents. I mean, you can take a good example, Golden Beach, they have cameras outside.
Everywhere, yes.
When any intruders get into the property, the police come. But here, we have nothing. I live on the first
Well,
floor.
I would,
Hi. Regarding your camera system, we have a very good camera system here that records, and we can go back a certain time to see what happened with the incidents at hand, and particularly the one that happened with this rover and this other person that was involved in the robbery. So, excuse me. So when this happened, I instructed Al to make some changes within the building. First of all, anybody who has to have access to any keys of the buildings, they gotta be 2 people. They gotta sign in the reason why they're going to that unit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and we have to have a backup of that. Also, I instructed Al to make sure that we check on a regular basis to see if there's any doors that are unlocked. Unfortunately, every week there are doors that are unlocked. This is your home. This is your safety. Just make sure that your doors are locked at all times. So any individual who wants to do anything bad, it could be the best person or the worst person in the world, and has bad intentions, will go into that apartment and steal. So, you know, we all have to work together on this. My unit is locked at all times, but there are units on a regular basis that stay unlocked. And I strongly suggest that you should lock your units at all times, whether you're in or you're out. So please, we all have to work together on this. And you know, you can have a bad individual working in any business. You know, I have a lot of people working with me, and I do have situations where some people are not honest. And it happens everywhere. And it not only happens in this building, it happens in numerous buildings where there's opportunity to steal. And it happens. It's unfortunate, it's happened. We're working very hard on this. I appreciate your concerns about the rovers and stuff like that. We have a security committee. I guarantee you they're gonna get in touch with Nelson and his team and try to make this building, because you know, what we're trying to do here is trying to keep the building safe and healthy. And I think we're on the right track to do that. And I appreciate all the patience that you all have going through this project. It's not gonna be easy, but within the next few years, I guarantee you're all gonna be very happy.
There's another problem. People deliver stuff, they keep that door open. Now, the other day,
Which door are you talking about?
excuse me,
Which door, no, which door are you talking about?
right here where they do the delivery.
Yes,
On the ground floor.
yes.
When they're coming in with all their stuff, they leave the door wide open. The other day, the door was open, there was nobody there. Now, the girls at the desk should be seeing that, and they should be given orders before they let these people in. You have to open and close the door every time you go in. That has to be enforced, because you know how many times I come down and tell you the door is open, the door is open.
Very good
So that
point.
problem has to be solved, because
Thank you,
at the end,
Teresa.
everything's not gonna function right.
We are gonna work on that situation. We're looking at it. We may put the automatic closers. We're gonna see what can be done. Just like the other doors, they close automatically. Thank you.
We also have a suggestion box downstairs where you can, you know, write your concerns, and management will look at it every day. I also told management that if anybody wants to meet with Al, to do it between 4 and 5 in the afternoon. Because, you know, Al has a lot of work to do, his team has a lot of work to do. We're in major projects here, so please, you know, voice your concerns. But, you know, get in touch with management, they're there for that. But let's not overburden them during the day. Let's try to respect the hours that I've instructed them to meet with any owner between 4 and 5 every day. But if you have suggestions, put them in the suggestion box. And if you want to even address them to me, please do. I mean, I've had concerns, people have called me, I call back. I always try to talk to everybody here. So if you have any concerns, I'm always available. Okay? Thank you.
yes. We'll talk in a minute, sure. Anything else for security?
I would say, oh, my car was vandalized here 3 times in the past year. And my apartment's been broken.
Thanks, everyone, for coming. Anything else, Robert? Thank you.